Hello, people of YouTube. This is Gray's Guitars. I am Steve Gray, and thank you for watching. It's a late night. It's definitely a late night that I'm filming this right now, getting it to you at the end of the day. But we are doing another Don't Buy video. Today we are doing Don't Buy an Epiphone Les Paul. That's right. We did Don't Buy a Gibson Les Paul. Now we're doing Don't Buy an Epiphone Les Paul. So, let's just get right into it. Yet again, this is a joking, feel-good, funny video. Do with that as you will. So, are you a boomer? Can you not afford a real Gibson because you made bad life decisions? Well, we've got the guitar for you, the Epiphone Les Paul. You think it's the same shape as a Gibson Les Paul because it is, but oh no, the headstock's completely wrong. Oh no, the logos aren't correct. Oh no, it's like 400 pieces of wood. There's a heel joint. There's a scarf joint. The pickups, the electronics are just flat garbage. The second you buy the guitar, you're going to immediately want to replace the electronics if the guitar was made anywhere from 1984 to like 2018. Because yes, the electronics were that bad. The nuts on these things, holy crap, unless you bought a new one. So let's just get this out of the way. I'm specifically talking about the ones from like 1983, 84 when they first introduced them to like recently. Because they got a little bit better recently. Not a lot better, but a little bit better. So most of them, if you buy them, guess what? Crappy plastic nut you're going to want to replace. Your bridge system right here, you're probably going to want a roller bridge. There's a good chance that your bridge is not going to be correct. Your tailpiece, a lot of the times you see these lifting out of the body. This one's lifting out of the body a little bit. This thing's not even like 10 years old. And when you have to pop this thing out, throw some toothpicks or something in it, cram the studs back in it, and then bada bing, bada boom, all over again. As you can see, the electronics in this one have been replaced. The pots and the switch input jack have not been replaced, so it still sounds kind of meh. Got to get some better pots in here. The pots in most of these things are complete and utter garbage. Fretboard wise, it's not rosewood. They haven't used rosewood in quite a while. This one I think is an older one. Some of the older ones have rosewood, but you're looking at Pau Ferro, other random woods that aren't true to what Gibson actually had. The neck shape is not even correct. Most of these have an Epiphone D-shaped neck, which it's not bad. It's not completely uncomfortable, but at the same time, if you're used to like a Fender or you play an actual Gibson, it doesn't feel the same, which just doesn't make sense whatsoever. Strap buttons. You're going to want strap locks because yes, these are equally as heavy as a real Les Paul. That's one thing they have right, the weight. However, the mahogany is not the same quality. Veneers for days, and I mean for days. So how these work is it is a mahogany body, not an actual maple cap on most of these. Most of these is like a paper-thin maple veneer to make it super pretty. Some of them do have a true maple cap. Most of them are all like multi-piece mahogany. The back of this is the veneer. So this entire back, it's not nice, good mahogany. This is a paper-thin veneer. It hides the 15 pieces of wood that have been glued together to make the body. I did a video about that previously. I think minimum there's like 14 pieces of wood. They even went as far as to try to hide the scarf joint or the heel joint on the headstock. If you look at it up here, this is actually a veneer as well over the scarf joint, which is kind of crazy. Also, something that makes no sense to me, the truss rod. So Gibson, you have your standard truss rod wrench. You know, it's a socket, you put it on. These, because they're imports, for whatever reason, they can't, you know, make them the standard series. No, they have to make them Allen keys. So that's how you automatically know it's an Epiphone. Or a fake is if you have an Allen key in there instead of your standard. I believe it's a 5/16 socket. You can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. The bridge, on the other hand, this one, you know, they could make this look like a real Epiphone, you know, real Gibson bridge, but they don't. And it doesn't make sense to me why. Like, why do we have these two screws? They call it the metric style. They actually have to call it a different style because they can't use like the American parts or the German parts because it's like too expensive, but you can't just copy them. People copy, you know, Gibsons all the time with Gibsons. Why can't you just copy that too? Pickup rings, these aren't as thick. I don't know why, like what the point of making these thinner is. Maybe it's less plastic, so it costs them less money, which would make sense. But the pickup rings, if I hold it this way, they are not as thick as an actual Gibson if you compare the two models. Pick guards are a little off too. Sometimes the screws aren't completely straight. They're a little weird at an angle like the side here. Basically, what that means is they don't actually drill a hole in the guitar first and then screw it in like you're supposed to. They just kind of cram it in there at the end to save time, to save costs. The plastics on this one, the switch tip, I'll take it off here. If you can see, it's very cracked and dry rotted. This, as I said, this guitar isn't really all that old. It's not more than maybe 15 years old. The plastics are already starting to go. The screws aren't too bad. They are a little rusty. The pickup screws right here actually have been replaced to fit the aftermarket pickups. The pickups, too, are just terrible. I think I said it before, but the pickups are just complete and utter garbage in most of these things. The wax potting them, they do it like way too hard. So it's like it's weighted like if you take the physical pickup out of the guitar, the pickup is like 2 pounds of the guitar. Yes, I'm not exaggerating. They are legitimately that heavy. If you have one, take out the stock pickups, you will feel it, and you will be like, holy crap, he's really not that wrong. The fretwork is always fairly subpar. Sometimes you have a little, let me see if I can do it here. Yeah, I hear that buzzing right now. It's just the guitar is supposedly set up where it should be, and I'm getting buzzing all up and down the fretboard. I think this thing needs a full fret level and crown, or I set it up incorrectly. Who knows? I haven't played this guitar in a while because I have been frankly annoyed with it, so I've been playing my square strap more because that seems to have a better fret job on it currently. It's very hit or miss. They always feel scratchy compared to Gibsons. Another thing that none of these will have is they don't have fret nibs. Gibson is known for having the fret nibs, and you would think, oh, maybe, take the extra time to give those boards to Epiphone as well. No, you can't have fret nibs. We just refuse to have fret nibs. Another thing is like the metal series that they make that they will do with Epiphone that they won't do with Gibson, like the Prophecy series, because it's not like your 1959, 1960 Les Paul. They just, most of the time, they refuse to go high specs with them. It wasn't until very, very recently that they started doing something different with the Fishman Fluence, the 24 frets, things along those lines. But God forbid, you compete with LTD, ESP, Schecter, just a couple other different companies that I know have put stainless steel frets on some of their guitars. It's not that much of a premium. Yes, it does cost some extra, but at the same time, if you want to compete with those, do something different. Make the body shape different. If you give it a little bit of a pointed horn or something, make the body shape look a little bit different. Epiphones also, for the most part, besides more recent ones, are not weight relieved, so they're heavy. They're going to be heavy. It's actually kind of ironic because the Gibson counterparts had some sort of weight relieving pretty much from like the time these started, like 83 to recent, minus the new 50s and 60s standards that have no weight relief. They called it Swiss cheese, or they put 9 holes in them. To my knowledge, no Epiphones are weight relieved for a cost-effective measure. They just glue a bunch of different pieces of wood together, slap it together, and say good to go. Quality control is going to be hit or miss with the finishes. Like this one, like right here, there's actually a tiny bit of natural wood showing in that the finish never really got in. Polyurethane finishes most of the time, so it's not nitro. You're not getting that nitro that Gibson always promises. And yes, it's supposed to be a cheaper model, but nitro, yet again, is not like a massive premium where they couldn't throw it on the cheaper models as well. It's just, the Gibson has to be this much more expensive because it has these certain things. So yes, if you're on a budget, Epiphone probably isn't a bad idea, especially the newer ones, but now they're getting to the price point where you can buy a Gibson Studio. So a Gibson Les Paul Studio is right around $1,200, and a Gibson Les Paul Prophecy, that's kind of like their most expensive, or the 59, like the 59 replica that has the actual Gibson pickups in it, is like $899. So at that price point, you're honestly just better off with the extra $200 or $300 saving that money up and buying the real thing. It's getting to a point where they are no longer budget friendly, minus the really cheap crappy models like your Special 2s, your Les Paul 100s. the studios that don't have any of the fancy appointments that are like a solid color. And just the quality controls on most of those is even worse, especially if you have a bolt-on neck one. Yes, Epiphone does make some bolt-on neck guitars. You can't really buy replacement necks. The fretwork, yet again, yeah, the electronics are friggin' terrible, and it is just a freaking mess, man. Like, stay away from these. If you have $899 to spend on an Epiphone Les Paul Prophecy or the new Joe Bonamassa 59 or the actual 59, whatever the heck you want to call it, I would highly recommend saving up a few hundred extra dollars. Go buy yourself a low-end Gibson Studio, and bada bing, bada boom, problem solved. You now own a Gibson for a okay price. Sure, it doesn't have all the pretty appointments on it. You can always repaint it or whatever you want later on, but it's getting to a point where it is just no longer worth it. Used market, yeah. Used market, you can probably find a Les Paul for like $200 or $300, maybe like $300 to $400. I know inflation is always going to be a thing. When I started buying these, they were around $300. Now they're closer to $400. That is what it is. I'm going to leave it there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Lots of Epiphone Les Paul problems. My name is Steve Gray. This is Gray's Guitars. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell, leave a like. Yet again, comment down below what you want to see for future guitar and music related videos. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one.